All right, Ev, what are we teaching today?
Today is all about pricing your jobs people. And don't freak out. I know we've talked about pricing models before. This isn't the how we think you should do it conceptually. This is the how to actually create a pricing tool that prices your jobs for you quickly, profitably, predictably, and in a clean way that you can sell.
Yeah. Also, I want to add in and a way for you to negotiate. Not
yeah.
Yep. Let's not go down the
People's
rabbit
little
hole.
flags just blinked up so fast.
We're not changing our rates, people.
No one's negotiating your rates. Calm down.
All right, relax out there. But we are negotiating how much time you're going to be putting into this, right? So that's the negotiation that's on the table. So we're also not going to be challenging on this call how you're closing, flat fee, square footage,
Go back and
retainer,
listen
all the
to our
things.
episode called Pricing Models if you would like to review your pricing model against what we would most recommend. But we're not
Yeah.
going to fix anything that isn't broken for you. This pricing tool, as we're going to call it, vocabulary word of the day, our pricing tool is a spreadsheet. A beautiful,
Totally.
helpful, functional spreadsheet that prices your jobs for you and takes the emotion out of it. It's numbers now, so that you're not thinking about money as value or is this too expensive for the client. Take all of that out of it and price the job for what you are going to deliver to the client, how long that is realistically going to take, what are the contingencies that could cause it to take longer, do more, etc. Plug that bad boy in there.
Right. So we're getting away from creating price around quantity of rooms. We're getting away from creating a price around the square footage because how do we know how many elements are involved in that square footage? That could be different per space. And like Evelyn said, we have to account for all of the unknowns and uncontrollables inside this pricing model as well. It's a lot, right? So the foundation of when I'm coaching, this spreadsheet is already done, right? But we're doing this the free way. So I'm going to tell you how to set this spreadsheet up and the mental exercise you need to go through to be able to make the tool work exactly as I would give it to you. So in simple starting, I would just say that I should have the tool up so I could count the columns, right? But I'm going to go through it across in my brain, right? We need some type of title system that kind of is the timeline for your project. Very simple, 1-2 words.
Your process.
Like mood board, right? This is your process. And one thing I want to say with notating that process kind of top down is we know that projects are never perfectly linear, right? They're never going to ever follow the perfect steps top down. And that might challenge some people who are like, no, it needs to go 1, 2, 3. It's time, right? We care about time. We want to categorize that time in a clean fashion, right? We call that the conceptual phase. Maybe there's a detailed design phase if you're separating that from revision, construction documentation, construction admin. Then you go into, project management or design management, depending on where you are, right? So you can phase this out as elaborately as you want or as simply as you want. 3 phases: concept, design development, design management. 1, 2, 3, done, right? And the time we use inside that, it can change in those steps, right? And that does happen. That's okay. So we're not going to get locked into getting stuck because you don't know what to write as that next step. But okay, we've got your, title, basic process going down. You've got a description, general description. We'll get more descriptive as we move on of what's actually happening during this time. If someone was going to read this, like an assistant, would they know what's supposed to happen, right? Then we want to have some type of unit. Units,
Quantity.
we're going to, not quantity yet, unit. And what I mean by unit is it could be how many rooms, Or the unit could be elevations. The unit could be
Mood
items.
boards. Right.
Right? So this is where you get your flexibility inside the pricing tool. We're not making everything the same picture. It's allowing us to do things like, okay, when I'm in my concept phase, I know we're going to be working on some custom millwork in the office library section. And I also know we're going to be doing millwork in the living room built-ins. But the built-ins are pretty cut and dry in the living room. I really only need to draft one concept for them in the living room, but I really want to show them two concepts in the library. So that's the versatility you're going to get. And then we have quantity, right? What's the total quantity of this thing that we're doing? And then that's going to multiply and equal the total amount of minimum hours that particular thing is going to take. And that's very important, the minimum, because this is another sticking point you're going to have. Oh, how much time, right? When I'm working with people, I have those estimations kind of pre-programmed and we work through those decisions together. The reality is if you don't have the data, yes, we're making assumptions, but the way I help clients facilitate deal structure is to have contingency built in there. So the hours we're putting on the board are the baseline minimum, and the way we're going to close the deal is going to allow us to take 20% more time if we need to.
Right. And I just want to pause really quick because Shay, you're using like time and hours a lot, which that is the truth. That's what this spreadsheet is calculating for us. But I can feel already a couple of people saying, well, I'm not doing hourly. I'm selling flat fee. But where does your flat fee come from? If profitability is a focus for you, which I hope it is, I think it is, it definitely should be, then your flat fee comes from somewhere. There's a logic behind that number, or there needs to be. And time, especially once you're going to delegate, grow your team, have people outside of your total control working for you, has to be part of that formula. That's the crux of the formula, so that you know no matter how many people you send out in the world working on behalf of your company, working within your billable projects, is going to be profitable at the end of the day. So even if hours doesn't totally align with the vocabulary you're using to close your jobs, it should still be part of the logic behind the scenes.
Right. It's how you're going to calculate your flat fee, right? And I also work with clients still in that stage. If you're just working for yourself and you're still working towards capacity, that's where you really should be, in that flat fee, so you can focus on your learning curve. There's a bunch of foundational things that are going to need to be collected, that it's going to take you a little extra time than it will in the future. And also, there's not much organizational systems going on. We need to create those things. But again, like Evelyn said, it should be driven from something, so that as the company continues to evolve and grow, you're enhancing the same foundational tool that you're going to use at the end of the game, at the beginning of the game, right? Yep. So that's the very detailed page. There's ways of streamlining this, so that you can quickly price a job. But ultimately, this is your Q&A. This is how you plug in a client's scope and input their description in the description box and arrive at that estimation of hours. How we make that tool more sophisticated, because it can be a bit overwhelming, is, the challenges that I think most designers out there, and likely you are experiencing out there, is that because we are in such a creative field, coding spreadsheets is not a strength. Knowing how to even go back, it's so funny. Like, now that I do it so much, it's like I want to go into, like, I don't know what grade it is where you learn like the variable equations, where it's like x equals, 3 times
algebra 1,
whatever. But that's where we're going back to, right? That's what spreadsheet coding is, really. It's just math equations and plugging in those same equations we learned back in the day in school into clicking cells that need to multiply, against each other, allowing one crazy, messy page screen summarize into what I would call a proposal summary screen, right?
Before we go to the proposal summary, let's do our 30-second breakdown. Repeat exactly what we just said in detail for those designers who might just want to hear it one more time.
Okay. If we are starting a spreadsheet for your pricing model, you need to have a column that notates your process. You need to have a column that describes what's happening inside that certain step. You need to break that down into a specific unit, whether that be per drawing, per elevation, per room, per item. You need to have an open-ended column. This is what you're going to fill in as your pricing, which is your quantity. And then you're going to need to code on that next column on the outside to multiply the quantity by the unit. So you get the total amount of estimated time per item, and then
Yeah.
summarize
So
that
you
at the
need
bottom.
also a column for the number of hours per unit. So let's say this
Yep.
line is mood board. Your unit, I'm just trying to like translate, Shayna, for anyone whose brain works a little bit more like mine. I feel like there's two halves of the cookie out there. If your unit is one mood board, how many hours on average are you working on that one mood board? So that if you fill in for this project, there are 8 mood boards to be completed, 8 mood boards times X number of hours equals, and there's your calculation right there.
Right.
And so moving down the line, that next one, the unit might be items to be sourced. Okay, that's going to be have a way higher quantity. How long are you willing to spend on sourcing one item? Right there, you are already challenging the rabbit hole that I know you're falling into with every single project. Where are you going to stop yourself? Allow what you found to be enough and wait for that revision phase, because you could have sourced to the ends of the earth and still had a client that didn't like anything you found. You're already building in for yourself a process that allows profitability to be more predictable.
Yep. This is also the seed where all your foundation starts to branch off of. So, to what Evelyn just said, and going into the sourcing abyss, there's a future of controlling time logs, which I would call retainer management, that gets implemented to help that, right? And something we train into our team, which is important to talk about, is the uncontrollables versus controllables, right? So we can somewhat control how much time it takes us to do an elevation. Somewhat so, right? It takes as long as it takes, but there are rough averages as long as you're not sitting there in the abyss of staring at this thing like, what should I do? Um, but then there are also the easy, you can go into the abyss like sourcing or looking for a new workroom. I mean, a really good employee who's just trying to do the most will source that artwork all day long. You can't bill that client 8 hours a day for 2 pieces of artwork, right? So there needs to be a structure, right? We think about this as the foundation of the home. We are literally just pouring the slab and putting up the rough framing. That's the shell that this is. And then everything else really gets enhanced from this because your process will evolve. Your management will increase. Creating this structure will help your sales flow. And that will become enhanced later. And then that all trickles into your marketing for your visibility, for what you look like online, for what you're saying to your clients, both verbally and for what you're sending out, in copy to them as well.
Yep.
So,
And having this pricing tool gives you something to check yourself back against at the end of every project. Because you know what? Did you spend a little bit more than what you put in that spreadsheet as your sourcing time per item? Okay, now you, as the principal designer, as the owner of your business, you can decide. Do you just want to change that calculation moving forward? Or do you want to coach and iterate and work on with your team actually whittling down that time? You are still in control, but you have this tool that allows you to really make your decisions with profitability at the center of everything.
yep, exactly. And then, the spreadsheet continues on, right, to be more sophisticated. The huge amount of work goes into outlining that process,
The brain dump.
the brain dump, right? The next step really is kind of summarizing that information into a digestible way that helps you sell the job
Mhm.
and negotiate the job.
Think of this as the
So,
visual dashboard, not only for you in pulling out all the pricing from all those numbers from the sheet that you probably don't want to look at every day. And also your selling tool that even a client could see if that's how you're running your closing calls. Go back to our closing call episode, how to close your jobs, if you're not sure about that.
Yeah. So basically, this is summarizing, by phase hours, right? Roughly how many hours are we thinking that the conceptual phase is going to take, the design management, I'm going to go simple route here, 3 phases, and the design management phase, right? It allows us to put that contingency range on those hours or costs, right? It doesn't matter which way we talk about this. And this is something I want to say. So to clients, right, money is what they care about. The sale is the money. The design fee range is the money. Operationally speaking, as an owner, you care about time because you start with controlling your own personal capacity. I have 40 hours to work. I'm a business owner. I need to work on my business. So that's 20 hours. I need to work in my business. So I have 20 billable hours a week. And that translates into the month, right? So we have 80 hours for the month. By understanding how many hours, working hours are on the board, that again seeds you, this pricing tool then seeds you into task management, project management, understanding how many hours of support you actually need, how oversold you are. Eventually, projections, right? Because if I have a tool that is saying, hey, the conceptual phase, which for this project, usually I get through in about 2 weeks. The detailed design phase, I'll get through in 8 weeks. And there'll be a pause, right, in between that detailed design and management. It'll probably pause for like 8 weeks, and then management probably looks like 4 weeks. Hey, guess what? I can go put that on a schedule and say, I'm going to start this project, this first week in April. Conceptual phase is a minimum of 10 hours. All right, so we're working on Smiths for 10 hours, week 1 conceptual, 10 hours, week 2 conceptual, and you are able to actually see what's on the board. Another podcast, because I can just go off on it on
Total
how
game
important
changer,
it
though.
is.
How many designer business owners do we talk to that are just absolutely underwater, struggling, so busy, don't want to say no to work, but don't actually know, like, where is my time going? When's the last time I actually worked on my company? Like, you guys are doing the most. We see you, your clients appreciate you, and also it's not sustainable. And a tool like this not only helps you control the money, but helps you really put numbers to your time, which allows you to make decisions more thoughtfully.
Right. So I don't care. The summary proposal is there for you operationally, which again, that information no one cares, right? On the client side, they want to know cost. They want to know money, right? And then also shows you the money and how you want to craft your services, right? So this isn't about how we're going to close. I don't care if you want to do flat fee. I don't care if you want to do retainer. I don't care what types of services you want to sell, because the reality is every level of service lives inside of a full service workflow. Challenge me on that. Try me. Just don't do it, because it's all there. I have worked with a number of clients still at the initial start of their game, wanting flat fees. And all we have done is you do the pricing, create the process, and then every single type of package that they wanted to sell, all is driven from logic with a process to follow when it sells, inviting the inevitable that you are going to be a successful business owner. You are going to grow this company. You are going to need support. You are going to need to pay people by the hour, and you need to be able to delegate with control in telling someone that this is what I need, and it should take you about this much time. Please stop when you're at that amount of time and return back to you if they need more time. And if they need more time, then you're evaluating the why, right? Is it you? Is it them? Is it client, right? And then you're controlling that. If it's you internally, that happens, that happens. Take accountability, fix it, make sure it does not happen again. It's that simple, right? Let it go. It happens, fast story, because it's going to go off track. But, I was lost in the abyss of my thoughts one day. I'm going over a bridge. I see a cop. I look down at my speedometer. I'm going 70 miles an hour. I'm like, holy, in like a 40, like ridiculous. I pull my ass over. I pull my ass over. She had to put her lights on and back up to come behind me. It's a female cop. She comes to my window. She's like, I was like, I already know. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, I just had the babies. I'm just lost in my head. Like, this is my ticket. This is my ticket. She goes back. She runs the plates. She comes to the car. She's like, believe it or not, I hand up there to the universe. She said to me, accountability is everything to me. Did not give me a ticket. Was like, just slow down, calm down a little bit, and have a great day. Sometimes we panic. I'm sitting in the car like a little bit panicky. Who's not with a cop? A little bit like, right? I feel like we find ourselves often doing this with clients. Like, oh, I did this thing. I'm panicking. How are they thinking over that? It's like, just tell them the truth. I said this to someone the other day. Facts are fact. Just tell them the facts. Accountability, you're either not going to charge, or this was a new staff. They made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Just hold yourself accountable. It's okay. Move on. Learn from it, right? And if it's not on you and it's on the client, now you have a very clean process, hopefully tied to a very tight contract that allows you to hold the client accountable.
Yeah.
And pay
that
you more.
actually, I think, is such a perfect segue, because with the proposal review page, which we didn't really get into the same level of detail, columns, what's it doing, what's it structured as, the proposal review page is where you're able to, on your own, just based on your own instinct, your knowledge of your clients, your knowledge of how your projects go, this is where you can put in your contingency. So again, on that detailed sheet, we're talking about minimum hours. This is the time this project will take. Now, let's factor in a little wishy-washy time for client indecision, for clients with additional revisions. What do you know you're going to need? You want to give yourself wiggle room. You don't want to feel stuck inside this spreadsheet. So let's talk about the proposal review page, Shay, and how you help clients create that part of the system too.
Yeah, so the initial conversation always starts with how you want to close the money and the levels of service. It all crafts around that. But there are some commonalities in terms of seeing those estimated range and costs per phase of your project. There's also summarizing all these time logs into categories, right? Categories that we can control, categories that we can't control. Those uncontrollable categories being client meetings, revisions, trade communication, site time and management, right? Top 4 right there. Those are big. Those are like, we're definitely doing those because we want to copy and paste those into the contract so that you're able to point back if this project is taking longer or whatever, as a way for you to say, hey, I can't control these things. This is what's taking more time. And when it's on the client, we'll get into that heavier retainer. I'm not even going to swing because there's so much retainer management conversation
coming soon.
That's buttoned into this. Another thing I like to code into the spreadsheet is the negotiable amount of time and cost, right? So what is negotiable to you? Are you willing to let your client measure the space? Are you willing to let them to drop out maybe detailed elevations? Are you offering renderings and you're willing to drop those off? So anything a part of your process that's maybe like a high level of execution or a high design deliverable that you're willing to let go of, but also sell with the understanding to the client that you're going to lose out on XYZ, right? There is a way to like stick them in the sale by like kind of scaring them of owning the liability. Like, oh, you want to measure your space and kind of knock off those 4 hours? Okay, well, just so you know, if you mismeasure or you don't call out a light switch or you don't give us the right allowance between the floor and the door for your carpet pile, then you are going to be liable for absolutely everything. You'll see people kind of switch immediately, especially when they're about to purchase a lot of things and they don't want to be responsible for that. So negotiable variables are in there. And then also a lot of time we code into, the pay structure, right? So here's your design fee range, but however you're going to break apart the money, which there's all different strategies to that. Again, another easy way for you to kind of copy and paste that information that's relevant into the contract. There's some other things that you can enhance, which would be separate tabs you would add. Like if you wanted to add in your furnishing budget, and you wanted just to be able to like download that scope in a good, better, best kind of format, and then have all of that money summarized onto the proposal summary page, that can happen too. Again, that is a little bit more, it's not actually that hard when you're coding it. My one tidbit is in kind of coding these summary pages is you just have to know that all the pages connect, right? So if you learn code and you go to the proposal summary page and you go equals and you want to do all of that math shown on that page, you can just click to the other tabs. So it's not that complicated once you learn kind of a few basic coding formats to really be able to kind of do this on your own. But again, if you need the support, you simply don't have the time, you just want to jump off from a really strong foundation, we have this tool. Kind of the very first call of that, pricing model exercise is me giving you this spreadsheet that's already done so that we can just kind of zhuzh that one and adapt it to what feels right for your process.
Change your hours per unit for each item within that, remove anything that isn't relevant to what you're doing, and work from a spreadsheet that exists as opposed to being like, okay, cell A1, process. And you're like, oh, this is going to take forever.
Yeah.
So we got you.
Yeah, that about wraps it up though. Very simply, it's just like a 2-tab spreadsheet. If you're going to put in that furnishing budget, that can kind of increase by room of the scope. But that's it, folks. So that's the foundation. You have it there, all my tricks and things that I do.
Yeah. As you think through this, if you have questions, please send them in an anonymous voicemail so we can literally answer them for you and give you free coaching right here. It's what we're here for. We really want to be not only teaching these lessons and hopefully providing tons of value, but we're willing to follow up. Send them in, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. We are genuinely here for your success. It's hard. Making change is hard. I hate to break it to you. It will happen every year. The business will change every year. You hope that it changes every year. That means it's growing. So if you're in a flat fee now, if you're pricing square footage, I'm hoping that I have convinced you that whether you don't need it right now, that I promise you that this is the exercise that really genuinely seeds all of the necessary foundation to come in your business's growth. I promise you that.
At the end of your day as a business owner, if you feel like the work that you're putting in, the energy that you're giving your clients and your projects and your team is not reflected in your bank account, this is where that starts.
Amen.
Amen. See you guys later.
See you later. Well, we reached the end of today's episode. Remember, your pricing tool doesn't have to live in your head anymore. It doesn't have to be a guessing game based off of square footage or number of rooms. When you build a pricing tool, a real functional spreadsheet that calculates time, accounts for contingencies, and gives you a range to work with, you're taking the emotion out of the money and putting profitability back in your control.
And here's the thing, this is not just about what you charge your clients. This pricing tool becomes the foundation for everything else in your business. It's the seed for your task management, your project timelines, your team delegation, your retainer structure, and even your sales process. Once you know how long things actually take, you can finally see what's on your plate, when you're oversold, and how much support you actually need to outsource.
So let's take action. Open up a blank spreadsheet and start building your pricing tool. Keep it simple. In one column, put your process. Go through concept, design development, design management phase. In column 2, describe what's happening in each phase. Column 3, your unit. Is it per mood board, per elevation, per item sourced? Column 4, how many hours does one unit take? Column 5, quantity, and then multiply those cells to give you your total estimated hours per line item.
And remember, these are your minimum hours. You're not locking yourself into anything unrealistic. You're giving yourself a baseline so you can add contingency, so you can negotiate scope, and so you can finally stop undercharging because you were afraid to do the math. If this feels overwhelming, or you just want to skip the setup and start from a tool that's already built, we've got you. We have the spreadsheet template, we have the data on average hours, we have the process wireframe. We are here to help you take this foundation and make it yours so it actually supports your growth. We are here for your success, and this is the first step.
Here's the truth, people. If the work you're putting in and the energy you're giving your clients and your business isn't showing up in your bank account, it's the pricing model. If the team you've put around you is costing you instead of adding profit, it's the pricing model. And if you feel like your project timelines are out of your control, it is the pricing model. This is the exercise that seeds every other system you're going to need as you grow. So if you don't have this, make a promise to yourself right now that in 2026, you are going to build out your pricing model.
If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to help us grow this community of incredible designers just like you by rating, reviewing, and subscribing wherever you listen. New episodes drop every Tuesday, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. You can also receive free coaching from us right here on this podcast by sending us an anonymous voicemail with your burning question or upcoming challenge at fordesignerbusiness.com or at the link in the show notes. We'd love to hear your questions about this pricing tool, spreadsheets, or really anything else, and we'll give you real feedback that might even be featured on a future episode.
Look, making change is hard. Your business is going to evolve every single year, and that's a good thing. That means you're growing. So even if you don't think you need this pricing tool right now, I promise you it's the foundation for everything that's coming. Do the work now, and your future self will thank you. I promise.
Make no excuses, perfect your pricing tool, and watch what happens when you finally take control of your profitability. Until next time, keep designing and keep dreaming.